Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets. Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Friday, April the 15th is a good one. It lives up to its grade 1 standing. It's the $600,000 Maker's Mark Mile, race number 9 at Keeneland on the turf. Let's take a look at this field, and you can download free Formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them, handicap along with us when you've made your final determinations, play the Maker's Mark Mile and the entire Keeneland card on Friday with your DRF Bets account. Smooth like Speight, Mike, 2-1 on the morning line, one of the more consistent horses in training. In his last 10 starts, 3 wins, 6 seconds, 1/3. In the races he's lost, they've all been by a length or less.
Yeah, he's just, as you put it, that's a good way to put it. It's just very consistent. He tends to come up short, maybe a little bit too often, Dan, but man, he's right there every time. He's got nothing but fast figures on his card, and he's got plenty of speed.
We've got a field of 11 lined up for the Maker's Mark Mile, and we'll take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. We know that Smooth Like Speight has a good amount of early speed, but Some Like It Hot Brown is a speed horse. And Some Like It Hot Brown, making his seasonal debut, ran very well at Keeneland last year when 3rd in the Turf Mile behind In Love.
Yeah, he's a really nice horse, really underrated New York bred, and he has a lot of speed. He is going to go to the early lead in here, Dan. I don't see any way that they would try to rate him in a race like this. He'll go. I don't see how they have a tone second on this pace projector. He's not faster than Smooth Like Speight. If Smooth Like Speight isn't right up there on the pace with Some Like It Hot Brown, he's going to be very close in second.
Speaking of In Love, this horse, one of 2 quality turf milers trained by Paulo Lobo in the field. In Love won the Keeneland Turf Mile at 12-1 last fall, and he got just a beautiful ride and a great closer's trip. He was able to save ground most of the way, eased out at the 3/16, and then came with a striking stretch rally. And the Breeders' Cup Mile, I'm not sure is as bad as it looks on paper.
I'm not either. Going back and watching that race again, Dan, I'm not really sure what the plan is. I know this horse isn't, a big speed, but he's not slow. And he actually broke from the gate really well in that spot. They could have gone forward with him, and they didn't. They just took this horse back. They put him on the inside. He couldn't really get out to the clear until the top of the stretch, and he ran in that race. He just didn't have any realistic chance to make a big impact in there. I thought that was an underrated performance. He got really good before that. He's got the rail here, Dan, and he does not have to be that far away. They're going to go in front of him a little bit anyway, but he doesn't have to be that far away.
I see a similar situation as the Keeneland Turf Mile, where he can save ground in the second flight behind an honest pace and come with a late kick. 10-1 on the morning line's a very good price. Speaking of good prices on the morning line, the 2 Shirl Speight is somehow 50-1 on the morning line, even though he just won a graded stakes race at Tampa Bay Downs. I don't think he'll be that price at post time, but he should offer value in this competitive field. Let's watch his race at Tampa Bay, and Emma Jane Wilson gave this horse a nice in-out. But you're going to see he's got some work to do turning into the stretch. He'll split some horses, and this is a strong kick against a weaker field.
It is a weaker field. The one thing that I think you'll notice about this race, though, Dan, is aside from Shirl Speight, there's nobody closing in this race. He's the only one who makes up any significant ground through the stretch of this race. I thought he ran really, really well here. That made it 2 in a row on the grass. He's got a big pedigree. It's unfortunate that he's just so lightly raced. I guess he just has some issues. But when they get him on the track, he's good. Listen, he's not going to be 50-1. He's going to be a fair price in this race. If he's 50-1, just bet him. It doesn't matter who else you like in the race. 50-1's way too big.
He was really promising early in his career. Maybe they rushed him in a bit. He ran in the Woodbine Mile, and it's only his 3rd lifetime start, but it looks like he's gotten back on the beam in his last 2 on turf, and he's got some tactical speed and a good inside post. The number 3 is a Tone. Blinkers on for trainer Michael Maker. Ran this horse in the Pegasus World Cup last time out. He was in with a chance turning into the stretch. Mike kind of flattened out a little bit late. Maybe cutting back to a mile helps him out. He finished just behind Space Traveler in the Pegasus, a horse horse that would come back to run second in the Kill Row in his very next start, a Grade 1, behind Maker's Mark entrant Count Again.
Yeah, the Maker's gotten this horse good. He's in really good form. I have no knocks on what he's been doing on the turf courses lately. You can go back and watch either of those last two starts at Gulfstream Park. He ran fine. He had every chance to win either one of those races if he was good enough. And he wasn't good enough. I like this horse, Dan. I don't think he's a legit, Grade 1 turf horse. And there are legit Grade 1 turf horses in here. I just feel like this race is probably too tough for him.
He has won his last two races at a mile. Again, blinkers on for Maker. Mason is the number 4, one of 2 in here, trained by Chad Brown. And this is a gelding that was getting very good towards the tail end of his 2021 campaign overseas in Ireland last year. He won his last 2 starts. And boy, he showed speed last time out in that listed Knockair Stakes at Leopardstown, a left-handed course that is kind of similar to some of the American courses.
Yeah, it was. He opened a big lead on that field around the turn, and then he just held on to the end there. It wasn't that impressive when you watch it, towards the finish stand, but just the fact that he went a solid pace in there, opened a big lead and held on, you can give him credit for that. He has a huge pedigree. This is, basically the top Juddmonte family when you go back. All good horses, all Grade 1 turf horses. And he showed a lot of ability. I guess the one issue with him, Dan, is he's been very hard to ride in his races. He gets very ranked. And he wants to be forward in his races. And if he does that here and has to go to the front with Smooth Like Straight and something like it Hot Brown, that may not work out so well.
That's a very, very good point. Of course, Timeform US won't have a chiclet on the pace projector because he has European form, but he does like to be forwardly placed in his races. He is a bit keen coming out of the gate, and he's likely never faced the kind of speed that he's going to be facing in this race. So it'll be interesting to see how Pratt rides Mason. Ivar is the number 5. I'm a big fan of Ivar. He won the Shadwell Turf Mile in 2020. And he only had an abbreviated campaign last year. His Breeders' Cup Mile, I thought, was good. Joe Talamo had him in a decent spot near the back of the pack. He came to the outside in the stretch. He was firing on home behind a perfect trip winner and Smooth Like Straight, who controlled the pace throughout.
Yeah, another horse who ran pretty well in the Breeders' Cup without a real chance to win it, Dan. Just trying to come from that far away in that race, it just wasn't going to work. The leaders just had too big of an advantage. He ran well in there. I liked that performance from him. 2 back. When his stablemate beat him in that Grade 1 right here at Keeneland. I thought In Love ran a much better race than Ivar did that day. But listen, this horse has plenty of races that make him a contender in here, and he's going to have pace in this race.
And the Keeneland Turf Mile was his first start off of a 5-month layoff and probably a prep for the Breeders' Cup Mile. He's a hard hitter. He's going to have to deal with another layoff. He'll be running in the stretch. Speaking of the Breeders' Cup Mile, Smooth Like Straight finished ahead of a couple of these horses. Let's watch that performance. His last start as a 4-year-old, and he has now earned 6 consecutive triple-digit Beyer speed figures. Smooth Like Straight controlled the pace, and it was a moderate pace for a Breeders' Cup Mile. We see the winner, Space Blues, just got a perfect pocket trip sitting in behind. He's going to go by Smooth Like Straight, who's very game to hold second over a late-kicking Ivar.
Yeah, he runs his typical race here, Dan. He had all the best of it on the front end in there, did not take any pressure once he cleared into that first turn. And he kicked on for home there. He just got run down by a horse who's better than he is. We'll see what kind of a trip he can pull here, because at the end of the day, can he sit second and still win this race? Yeah, he could. I still think he's at his absolute best when they put him on the lead, and there's going to be other speeds for him to deal with in here.
From Southern California comes the number 7, Count Again, who is 2 for 2 this year, both victories at a mile in graded stakes races, including this performance in the Kill Row last time out on March 5th. And I thought things worked out very well. What a beautiful ride Pratt gave Count Again. Saving ground behind a fast pace, getting outside without a stone in his path for a clear look at the 3/16. And once Count Again changes leads, he comes with a run and he just gets up at the wire.
Yeah, I love this horse. He shows up and runs every time, and he's another one who's going to benefit from the pace that develops here. He did get a great trip in that race. He does lose Pratt to the Chad Brown horse this time, but he picks up Rosario. There's nothing wrong with that. I liked his race 2 back as well. Then I thought he ran great that day. That horse that was on the lead there, Subconscious, was 3-5, and he wasn't coming back. And this horse came and ran him down at the end. I love this horse. I'm going to use him somewhere. I didn't put him on top.
He's run some very fast races. The race where he beat Subconscious, he was coming off a pretty lengthy layoff, about 5.5 months. This horse will be firing in the stretch. You could argue he's the best closer in the field. Some Like It Hot Brown is up next, and he's going to be on the pace. That's how he likes to run. That's how he ran when he got some class relief last time out in the Mohawk for New York breds at Belmont, pardon me. Let's watch that performance. And this was just a brilliant ride where he got right to the lead in a short field. He backed down the pace while clear with a 49-second half mile, and he holds on to win. He's supposed to hold on after this trip, Mike.
Yeah, he had all the best of it here. He's facing, some good New York breds in this race, but he's just better than them, especially when he can get that kind of a trip and he gets the job done. He's held his own, several times, Dad, with open graded stakes horses. He is not overmatched by this field. It's just a question of whether he can get really comfortable up on the front end.
It's all about how fast he has to go in the early part of this race because he is an honest and underrated horse. You're right. He can hold his own against graded competition. As can the number 9, Set Piece, who won the Wise Dan 3 starts back, coming from well off of the pace. They're in an okay second. In the 4-star Dave, the Woodbine Mile, his most recent start, he was the beaten favorite in late summer. I don't know. I didn't think it was the cleanest trip in the world. A couple of horses out of that race were also troubled. They came back to win. One of them, the 9th place finisher, took the Arctic in the next start with a 98 buyer.
Yeah, I think he was more badly compromised by the pace of the Woodbine Mile than anything else. Dan, they took him back to last, which is what they do. That's his running style. The horse that won the race just went right to the lead and wired the field. If you see the short comment, it says traffic stretch. I mean, maybe that's technically true. I didn't think this horse really had any significant trouble in there. I just feel like he got out-kicked in a race that didn't have a big pace for him to close into. I don't know. We'll see what kind of prices. If he's, around that morning line or even higher and you like him, just bet him. I'm not a huge fan, and I don't think he's the best closer in the race.
Bit of a class quiz for the 10 Mirror Mission, but boy, this horse has been in very, very good form. He's won his last 3 turf races, and he successfully stepped up into the graded stakes ranks at Gulfstream with the race we'll show you right now, the Canadian Turf. Now, this was a solid pace. He was off of it, not a strong field, but he does do what he has to do to win, rallying down the crown of the track.
He does. I won't knock this horse, who's just in really good form right now. This is a significant step up in class for him. However, Dan, as you mentioned, he's won 3 in a row on turf, consecutive buyer tops on this surface. He is getting better. I just feel like he's probably in way too tough here.
And I don't think it would surprise anybody if the number 11 Public Sector, who won 3 graded stakes races as a 3-year-old in 2021, is going to come back firing first start at 4 for Chad Brown because he still has a lot of upside potential. And his race in the Hollywood Derby, he was the beaten favorite that day. He was down inside. It wasn't his best race, but he was in against a pretty good field.
He was, and he got wired that day, and I don't necessarily feel like he got a great trip in there. And he really, if he had worked out a cleaner run along the inside, he would have been a lot closer at the end of that race. It just didn't work out for him. He was a good 3-year-old. He's got to improve. Again, this is a legit grade 1 field that he's starting back against as a 4-year-old, but this horse is good, and he's got upside.
Career best buyer only a 91. Mike's point is very, very well taken. This horse has to improve on the buyer scale, but again, he's so lightly raced, it's possible he's yet to even reach peak maturity. Before we get to our top selections, I want to remind everybody that hasn't done so already, please subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Very easy. Just hit the subscribe button and you'll get all of the latest DRFTV videos to you. Let's take a look at our top selections for the grade 1 Maker's Mark. I'm not getting 50 to 1, am I, Mike, on Shirl Speight? I like this horse. I think they've always had a lot of potential. They've always been a little bit of buzz around him, and I think he's found his way again after being pushed early in his career. He's going to be a big price, but he better bring it against this group.
He's going to have to. I'm with you. I'm a big fan. I think he fits in this race. I put him second. I didn't put him on top, but I will use him at a price in this race. I put In Love on top, Dan. I'm just going to hope that this horse can keep himself within range, save a lot of ground from the rail, and then come with his typical good finish.
How deep is this race? 8 picks in front of you, 7 different. The only one together is Shirl Speight. Throw him out! Mike's going 1-2-7-5. I'm going 2-4-6-3. In the grade 1 Maker's Mark, it's your DRF race of the day on Friday. Good luck.